Have you ever wondered why the most foolish, corrupt, or shallow people so often end up leading nations, corporations, and even entire generations? It's not just bad luck. It's because power itself has a magnetic pull, not for the wise, but for those desperate to cover their own emptiness. Maybe you've noticed it too. The louder someone shouts, the more people seem to listen. The ones who speak softly, think deeply, and question themselves, they're too busy wrestling with truth to play the game of control. And that's exactly why the game rewards the wrong players. You've probably felt it before, that sense of frustration when someone with no real wisdom, no real empathy, rises to a position they don't deserve, while people with actual insight are silenced, overlooked, or mocked. You wonder, how can this be fair? How can people not see through it? But maybe it's not that people can't see. Maybe they don't want to. Because following a fool who sounds confident feels safer than following a wise person who forces you to think. And that Machiavelli understood better than anyone. Niccolo Machiavelli, a name often spat out as a synonym for manipulation, never glorified evil. He described it. He studied it like a scientist studies a disease. In The Prince, Machiavelli writes that people judge more by the eye than by the hand. In other words, appearance beats substance every time. The illusion of strength will always triumph over the reality of integrity. Why? Because humans fear chaos more than they value truth. So the fool who pretends to be decisive becomes king, while the thinker who hesitates, the one who questions, is branded weak. Power, in its purest form, is not about leading. It's about the illusion of control. And illusions are irresistible to those who feel powerless inside. Psychologists have a term for this: compensatory dominance. It means when someone feels small, they seek to appear big. When they fear their own irrelevance, they crave obedience. When they are insecure, they demand respect. The cruel irony? The people most desperate to rule others are often the ones who can't even rule themselves. Imagine a kingdom long ago. A wise man sits quietly at the edge of the court, observing, and a young, arrogant prince mocks him, declaring, "Wisdom is useless if it cannot win battles." Years pass. The prince becomes king. He builds statues, starts wars, silences dissent. His people cheer him as a hero, until the day the famine comes. When the hunger spreads, when fear returns, his empty words can no longer feed them. In his final days, he wanders the silent halls of his castle, realizing too late that it was never power he sought. It was validation, and power had only made his emptiness louder. Here's the paradox: the strong do not crave power, because real strength is self-mastery. It's the ability to stand alone without applause. It's the courage to say, "I don't know," in a world obsessed with pretending. The philosopher Plato wrote that the ideal ruler is the one who does not want to rule, but accepts the duty because no one else will. But our world does not run on Plato's republic. It runs on marketing, on confidence, on the shallow theater of authority. And that's why fools rise, because they play the game of pretending better than anyone else. Friedrich Nietzsche once warned that those who fight monsters must be careful not to become one, because the moment you taste power, it whispers to you, "You deserve this." And once you believe that, you stop questioning your own motives. Nietzsche understood that the real danger of power isn't the throne, it's the mirror. Power convinces you that your reflection is divine, that your flaws are virtues, that your cruelty is strength. And in that moment, the fool becomes unteachable. You might ask then, why don't the wise fight harder for power? Why don't philosophers, thinkers, and compassionate people step up? Because wisdom is heavy. It carries the weight of doubt, empathy, and responsibility. The wise understand that power corrupts, not because it changes who you are, but because it reveals who you always were, only louder. They fear that in seeking control, they might lose their soul. So they choose silence, exile, or solitude. and the empty men fill the throne they refused. History repeats this pattern endlessly. The crowd crowns the loudest voice, then mourns when that same voice leads them to ruin. Rome had Nero, Germany had Hitler, corporations have CEOs who trade meaning for profit. Each generation forgets because the illusion is always new. We mistake charisma for competence, confidence for wisdom, and cruelty for strength. Look around. We live in an age where leadership is performance, measured by likes, headlines, and outrage. The fool has evolved, now dressed in designer suits and digital filters. But their hunger is the same, to be seen as gods in a world that no longer believes in them. Meanwhile, the thinkers, the artists, the quiet observers, they whisper truths that echo in the background, unseen. You might be one of them. You might feel invisible, but that invisibility is your armor. It means you haven't sold your soul for a crown. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German theologian who resisted the Nazis, wrote something haunting. Stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice. Because evil always carries guilt. But stupidity, blind, obedient stupidity, believes itself righteous. The foolish man in power does not think he's doing harm. He thinks he's saving the world. That's why reasoning with the foolish is useless. They are armored by certainty. And certainty is the death of understanding. So here's the uncomfortable truth. We get the leaders we mirror. The fool only rises because the crowd prefers comfort over truth. Because deep down, we don't want to be challenged. We want to be flattered. We want someone to tell us we're right, even when we're not. Machiavelli didn't create the sickness, he diagnosed it. He simply saw that fear and vanity shaped the world more than wisdom ever could. But there is hope. Because history also shows that the quiet ones, the thinkers, the compassionate, the introspective souls, they change the world in ways that power never can. Socrates never ruled Athens, but his words outlived every tyrant. Bonhoeffer was executed, but his ideas helped rebuild moral courage after the war. The truly powerful do not command armies, they command minds. They plant ideas that survive empires. So the question isn't, why do fools end up in power? The question is, what will you do once you see the pattern? Will you chase power to correct them and risk becoming what you hate? Or will you cultivate a deeper kind of strength, one that begins within, quietly reshaping the world not by ruling it, but by refusing to be ruled by illusion? Because every time you choose truth over comfort, you weaken the empire of fools. In the end, maybe the real battlefield isn't the palace or the parliament. It's your own mind. That's where tyranny begins and where it can finally end. So when you look at those in power and wonder, how did they get there? Remember, the fool seeks power to hide his weakness. The wise seek understanding to face it. And only one of them ever finds peace.